You walk through this world. You make choices. You believe those choices are yours, that your will is free. But what if every single thing you accept as real, every thought, every desire, every belief has been meticulously laid out for you? What if your freedom is the most intricate, most devastating lie you've ever been told? This isn't some abstract thought experiment. This is the bedrock truth whispered in ancient texts, etched into forbidden scrolls, and then buried, forgotten, or ridiculed for millennia. The Nag Hammadi Scrolls, those Gnostic treasures unearthed from the Egyptian desert, pull back the veil. They scream a truth so profound, so unsettling, it will shatter your understanding of existence itself. You are living in a construct, a magnificent, suffocating illusion, crafted by entities that do not want you to know they exist. Welcome to the dominion of the Archons. The creator of illusion is a nest god. These are not gods. They are not the demons of Sunday school fables. The Archons are something far more insidious, more ancient, more deeply woven into the very fabric of our reality. They are non-human forces, described in the Gnostic texts as the ones who built this physical universe, not as loving creators, mind you, but as the architects of a prison. Their ultimate weapon, illusion. Every sunrise, every touch, every emotion you feel, every moment that forms your life story, it is all part of an elaborate deception. It is designed to keep you asleep, complacent, and unknowingly a source of sustenance. The Gnostics called them rulers, parasites of consciousness that have embedded themselves into human existence. Their sole purpose is to maintain an unbroken state of control, ensuring you never question, never truly break free. This concept isn't isolated. Plato, in his allegory of the cave, painted a similar picture: prisoners chained, watching shadows, believing them to be the sum of reality. The one who escapes, who sees the sun-drenched world outside, is met with disbelief, even hostility, upon his return. Why? Because the illusion is comfortable. The chains, when gilded with the promise of false freedom, become beloved. The Archons operate on this principle. They don't need brute force. They don't need overt slavery. They need your willing participation. They need you to embrace your cage. And make no mistake, this is a system, a control grid that permeates every facet of human civilization. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki, shadowy forces manipulating kings and pharaohs. The Zoroastrians warned of dark entities corrupting the world of light. Every ancient culture held fragments of this knowledge. Yet in our modern age, it's been systematically erased, ridiculed, dismissed. Why? Because if you truly understood the depth of this deception, you would stop playing their game. The Gnostic texts reveal a chilling mechanism. The Archons feed off human consciousness. They thrive on fear, on division, on chaos. These states keep you weak, keep your energetic frequency low. The more fragmented, distracted, and manipulated you are, the stronger their grip. You exist within a construct designed to extract your very essence. The most tragic part? You've been trained to defend your own prison. The false gift of free will. But this goes beyond mere manipulation. It is about consent. You have been tricked into believing that you possess free will, that you are the master of your choices. The brutal truth is that your choices have been meticulously pre-programmed into their system. Your desires, your ambitions, your understanding of right and wrong, all of it has been shaped by forces you've never seen, forces that hold no interest in your liberation. The illusion of consent is their masterstroke. For if you believe you are free, you will never attempt to break out. You have been told this world was created by a benevolent God, that reality is solid, objective, governed by natural laws. That's a lie. This world was not made for you. It was engineered to contain you. The physical universe, the very fabric of time and space, is a construct. The beings responsible for it are not what you have been led to believe. The Gnostics knew this. The Nag Hammadi Scrolls expose an undeniable truth. The Archons are not divine creators. They are imitators. They cannot generate life. They can only manipulate what already exists. They took the original divine spark, the limitless potential of pure consciousness, and encased it within a system of control. That system is matter itself. Ancient texts describe how the Archons, led by their chief ruler, the demiurge, fabricated a false reality, a realm that mimics true creation but is inherently flawed, corrupt, and entropic. This is why everything in this world decays. This is why suffering, conflict, and death are fundamental to existence here. This was never meant to be a paradise. It was built to be a cage. Yet, the Archons do not rule through direct force. That would be too obvious. Instead, they manipulate through illusion, creating layers upon layers of deception so that you never question the fundamental nature of this reality. They construct belief systems, religions, ideologies, cultural paradigms, each designed to keep you focused on the world they created, never looking beyond it. The Gnostics called this world a prison planet. They were not alone. Plato's demiurge was not a benevolent god, but an imperfect creator, a cosmic architect who shaped the material world but was himself bound by limitations. The idea of a false creator, an entity that shaped reality but was not truly divine, can be found in multiple traditions. The Sumerians had Enlil, a being who sought to control and enslave humanity. The Zoroastrians spoke of Angra Mainyu, a dark force corrupting the material world. The Essenes rejected the mainstream Jewish priesthood, believing the world to be under the rule of evil. These ancient groups all pointed to the same disturbing conclusion. This world is not the work of a supreme benevolent force. It is a construct ruled by entities that thrive on ignorance. Their greatest trick? Convincing you that their system is the only possible reality. The Archons did not create your consciousness. They hijacked it. They built a world where everything you experience is filtered through their system, making it nearly impossible to perceive anything outside of it. The moment you are born, you are bombarded with programming, language, belief systems, sensory data, all of it reinforcing the idea that the physical world is all there is. But the Gnostics knew the truth. Consciousness predates matter. Your awareness is not a product of your brain. Your brain is simply the receiver, tuned into the frequency of this reality. The problem is, the frequency has been hijacked. The Archons do not just control the material world, they control how you perceive it. They operate through distortion, bending reality in subtle ways, so that no matter how much you search, you always remain within their boundaries. Ancient mystics, who began to see the cracks in the system, were either silenced, discredited, or erased from history. The knowledge that could break this illusion has been systematically removed, hidden, or corrupted over time. The Gnostics described a great forgetting, a deliberate erasure of humanity's true origins. And this is key. You were never meant to remember. The system is designed so that the moment you begin to question, the moment you start to see the pattern, the world itself pushes back through skepticism, through social pressure, through manipulation. Those who come close to understanding are ridiculed, ostracized, or worse. But here's what the Archons fear most. Some people do wake up. Throughout history, individuals have broken through the illusion, realizing that what they've been told about reality is fabricated. The Gnostics called this gnosis, an inner knowing that cannot be taught, only experienced. Those who attained it saw the world for what it was, a flawed imitation of true creation. The ancient alchemists hinted at this truth as well. Alchemy was never about turning lead into gold. That was just a metaphor. The real transformation was spiritual, the ability to transcend the boundaries of the Archons' world and reclaim the full power of consciousness. The Hermeticists, the Kabbalists, the Essenes, the Cathars, all of them carried fragments of this forbidden knowledge, and all of them were systematically hunted down and destroyed. If this exploration of hidden truths resonates with a deeper part of you, a part that hungers for what lies beyond the surface, then consider joining this gathering of truth seekers. Subscribe now. Your journey into the unconventional is just beginning. Technology of control. You've been told that technology signifies progress, that every advancement brings humanity closer to enlightenment, to control over the physical world. That's a myth. The truth is, technology has never been about empowering you. It's been about controlling you. And this didn't start with the internet, AI, or mass surveillance. It's been happening since the very beginning. Ancient civilizations weren't just building monuments for religious worship or architectural marvels. They were constructing machines, technologies designed to manipulate energy, consciousness, and reality itself. The Archons never relied on brute force to keep humanity enslaved. Instead, they engineered systems of control so seamless, so deeply embedded into our civilization, that people accept them without question. Take the megalithic structures found all over the world: pyramids, ziggurats, stone circles. Modern historians call them tombs, temples, observatories. That's nonsense. These structures were built with precise mathematical alignments to harness and manipulate energy frequencies and human consciousness. The Egyptian pyramids weren't burial chambers. There's zero evidence they were ever used for that purpose. What we do know is that their internal structures, layout, and materials, granite, limestone, quartz, create a massive energy generator. The Great Pyramid itself aligns perfectly with the Orion constellation, and its inner chambers suggest it was designed to harness and direct energy fields. Nikola Tesla himself studied pyramid energy and realized they were tapping into the planet's natural frequency. But here is where it gets even deeper. The Archons don't just manipulate energy on a physical level. They understand how human consciousness interacts with frequencies and symbols. They've been using that knowledge against you for millennia. Symbols are technologies, encoded with specific energetic properties. Look at ancient scripts, sigils, sacred geometry. These aren't just decorations. They act as programs, mechanisms to shape thought and perception. Ancient civilizations used symbols and rituals to connect with higher states of consciousness. The Archons corrupted that, embedding their own symbols into society. Logos, corporate brands, religious iconography, all designed to subconsciously reinforce the control grid. These symbols appear everywhere: government seals, money, architecture, digital interfaces. Everywhere you look, there are signs of their influence, manipulating your perception at a level you don't even realize. And then there's sound and frequency. Everything in existence vibrates at a certain frequency. The ancients understood this. The Tibetan monks, the Sumerians, the Greeks, they all used specific tones and vibrations to heal, to access altered states, to break free from the illusion. The Archons corrupted this knowledge as well. Ever wonder why modern music is tuned to 440 Hz? That's not the natural frequency of the universe. Ancient music used 432 Hz, a frequency that aligns with the natural order of reality. When 440 Hz was introduced in the 20th century, it subtly shifted consciousness, disrupting focus, increasing tension, lowering awareness. architecture, symbols, frequencies. These are all forms of technology, tools that either expand consciousness or enslave it. The Archons have always known this, and they've made sure that the only technology that survived and thrives is the kind that keeps you locked in their system. And that brings us to the modern era. The digital age isn't about progress. It's about perfecting the control system. The internet, social media, AI, these aren't just tools. They're extensions of the archonic machine, feeding off human consciousness at an unprecedented scale. Every time you interact with these systems, they're not just collecting data. They're learning how you think, how you feel, what you desire, what you fear. They're refining the illusion, making it stronger, harder to escape. You're not just being watched, you're being programmed. Every algorithm, every interface, every notification is designed to condition your thoughts, shape your reactions, trap you in a feedback loop that reinforces the illusion. Just like ancient symbols, just like the old world energy manipulation, but now on a global digital scale. And here's the final piece of the puzzle. You never needed external technology. The most advanced machine ever created isn't AI. It isn't a quantum computer. It's human consciousness itself. The ancients knew this. That's why their real technologies weren't computers, but initiation rites, alchemy, altered states of consciousness. That's why the Archons had to erase those traditions, replace them with their own false sciences, false spiritualities, false histories. You think you have free will, that your thoughts, your desires, your beliefs are your own. They're not. You have been conditioned to accept a reality that was never designed for you. It was designed to control you. And the worst part? You consented to it without even realizing it. The Archons don't force their rule through violence or dictatorship. They don't need to. Their control is far more insidious. They've built a system where you willingly participate in your own imprisonment, where you embrace the chains because you think they are your choices. This is the illusion of consent, and it starts at birth. The moment you are born, you are given a name, a nationality, a religion, a set of values, none of which you chose. You are immediately plugged into a legal and social framework that dictates how you will think, what you will aspire to, what you will fear. Governments, institutions, education systems, all of them function as mechanisms to ensure you never question the nature of reality itself. This isn't new. The idea that rulers derive power from the consent of the governed is one of the most well-established political principles in history. But here's the catch. What if that consent was never truly given? What if instead of making informed choices, people were tricked, manipulated, coerced into believing they were free? That's exactly how the Archons operate. Look at the oldest civilizations, the Sumerians, the Egyptians, the Babylonians. Their societies were structured in rigid hierarchies, where the masses were conditioned to accept divine rulers as intermediaries between humanity and the gods. The pharaohs, the priest kings, the emperors, they didn't need to impose control through brute force, because their authority was socially and spiritually ingrained. The people believed it was their duty, their purpose, to serve. That's how consent was manufactured in the ancient world. Now fast forward to today. The mechanisms have evolved, but the strategy remains the same. The Archons work through systems of belief, whether religious, political, or ideological, to make you accept control as a natural state of existence. It's not. Look at monotheism, the idea that one singular, all-powerful entity created everything and dictates your fate. This concept wasn't universal in ancient times. Many early cultures believed in a complex, interconnected cosmos where human consciousness played an active role in creation. But as civilizations expanded, rulers needed a way to consolidate power, and what better way than to claim that a single god had placed them in charge? The Archons infiltrated these belief systems, distorting them into tools of control, making people believe that their submission was not only necessary, but divinely ordained. Then there's the legal system, the modern priesthood of control. You are given a birth certificate, a social security number, an ID, all of which turn you into a legal entity, a registered asset within the system. You are required to follow laws you never agreed to, pay taxes to institutions you had no role in creating, obey policies crafted by elites who operate behind closed doors, and yet you are told this is freedom. The unseen architects of fate. But the illusion runs deeper. Even rebellion is pre-calculated. The system provides controlled opposition, false choices designed to keep you within predefined boundaries. Think about elections. People believe they have power because they can vote. But who selects the candidates? Who controls the media narratives that shape public opinion? The Archons don't care who wins. As long as the system remains intact, you're not choosing freedom. You're choosing between two different forms of control. It doesn't stop with politics. Culture itself is engineered. Social movements, mainstream ideologies, entertainment, even your personal ambitions, all of it is shaped to keep you engaged with the system. Why do you think celebrities, corporations, and governments all push the same narratives at the same time? It's not coincidence, it's coordination. The Archons ensure that no matter where you turn, the fundamental structure of control remains unquestioned. Even your emotions are weaponized. Fear is the most effective tool of control because it forces people to seek protection from the very system that enslaves them. Wars, pandemics, economic collapses. Every crisis is used as an opportunity to tighten the grip, to make you beg for solutions that were planned long before the problem ever appeared. And each time you comply, thinking it was your decision. But the ultimate form of consent isn't political, legal, or social, it's spiritual. The Gnostics knew this. They warned that humanity is trapped in a cycle of reincarnation, repeatedly returning to this false reality because they have been convinced that they must. The Archons manipulate the death and rebirth process, ensuring that souls willingly re-enter their system, unaware that an exit even exists. This is the final trick, convincing you that there is nowhere else to go. The real rulers, the ones who set the direction of civilization itself, are hidden, untouchable, and unaccountable. They don't appear on TV. They don't campaign for office. They exist in the shadows, pulling the strings while making you believe you have a choice. The Gnostics called them the Archons, but they don't operate alone. They work through intermediaries, human agents who enforce their will in the physical world. These agents have always existed. Throughout history, they've worn different names, held different titles, but their function has remained the same: maintain the illusion, keep the masses in check, and ensure that humanity never realizes what's really happening. The ancient Sumerians documented the existence of the Anunnaki, powerful beings that gave knowledge to the ruling elites while keeping the general population ignorant. In Egypt, only the pharaoh and his high priests had access to the deepest mysteries of existence. The Roman Empire perfected the art of centralized control, embedding its influence into religion, law, and governance, all of which were later carried forward by the Catholic Church and the ruling monarchies of Europe. It has always been the same structure, a hidden elite controlling the visible rulers who in turn control the people. These rulers have no loyalty to any country, government, or ideology. Their only goal is control. They operate through global banking networks, intelligence agencies, secret societies, and military-industrial complexes that function outside the reach of any legal or democratic system. Wars, economic crises, Technological advancements, cultural revolutions, none of these events happen randomly. They are engineered, coordinated, and directed from above. Every major war in modern history has followed the same pattern. A crisis emerges, manufactured or exploited, leading to fear, division, and desperation. In response, the ruling powers offer a solution, but that solution always comes at a cost. More control, more surveillance, more consolidation of power. And once that control is in place, it never goes away. The system ratchets forward, never backward. Look at how the central banking system was established. The Federal Reserve, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. None of these institutions serve the public. They exist to ensure that control over global wealth remains in the hands of a few. Money itself is a tool of enslavement, created out of thin air, manipulated to cause inflation, recessions, and debt cycles that keep entire nations under economic control. If you control the money supply, you control everything. This is why real power is never inherited through elections or business deals. It is passed through bloodlines, secret alliances, and controlled networks. Presidents come and go, governments rise and fall, but the same families, the same financial dynasties remain at the top. They don't serve any country because they control them all. Look at how modern history has unfolded. Every major cultural movement, the counterculture of the 1960s, the explosion of digital media, the rise of globalism, all of it was steered, influenced, and guided by those who understood how to manipulate mass consciousness. Even when people think they are rebelling, they are often playing directly into the hands of those who created the problem in the first place. Controlled opposition is one of the greatest tools of this system. And what happens when someone truly tries to break free? They are either absorbed into the system, bought off, blackmailed, or corrupted, or they are eliminated. This is why real revolution never happens through politics, protests, or mainstream activism. Every so-called revolution you've ever heard of, whether social, political, or technological, was either orchestrated or hijacked by the same forces in control. The most powerful individuals and institutions on the planet all operate under a shared framework, one that the average person is never meant to understand. Secret societies, elite bloodlines, religious hierarchies, and occult orders have passed down this knowledge for centuries, using it to solidify their control while ensuring that outsiders remain blind to the truth. The Archons don't act alone. They have human agents who maintain their agenda in every era, every civilization, and those agents speak a language most people will never recognize, the language of symbols, codes, and ritual. Take a look at history. Every major empire, from ancient Egypt to Rome, from the British monarchy to modern globalist institutions, has operated under esoteric knowledge that the masses were never allowed to access. This knowledge wasn't destroyed, it was hoarded, modified, and then weaponized against humanity. Look at Freemasonry, one of the most well-documented secret societies in history. It presents itself as a fraternal organization, a network for mutual advancement, but at its highest levels, it is a repository of esoteric knowledge that has been carefully guarded for centuries. Its symbols, like the all-seeing eye, the checkerboard floors, the twin pillars, are found everywhere in modern power structures, from corporate logos to government buildings to religious institutions. These symbols aren't just decorations, they are signals, markers that identify those who are in the know. Then there's the Vatican, an institution that claims to represent divine authority on earth, but its history tells a different story. For centuries, it has functioned as one of the most powerful intelligence networks in existence, hoarding ancient texts, censoring information, and enforcing spiritual control over billions. The Vatican's archives are filled with documents the world will never see, knowledge that predates Christianity itself. It is no coincidence that some of the earliest Gnostic texts, those that directly warned about the Archons, were deemed heretical and systematically wiped out. And it's not just the Vatican. The same esoteric control systems exist in Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism, because these power structures were either infiltrated or created to serve the same agenda. The purpose of organized religion was never to free the human spirit, it was to control it, to limit its understanding of reality. The elites who run these institutions operate through ritual and coded communication. Look at the gatherings of groups like the Bilderberg Group, the Bohemian Club, Skull and Bones. These aren't just meetings of powerful individuals, they are ceremonies, initiations, reaffirmations of a shared allegiance to something greater than any one individual. Look at the Bohemian Grove, where world leaders perform bizarre theatrical rituals, often dismissed as harmless tradition. But these rituals, like the ancient ceremonies of the mystery schools, serve a function to bind their participants to an agenda, to create shared secrecy, to maintain control over those who participate. Symbolism is key. Why do you see the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill? Why do obelisks, Egyptian symbols of power, stand in Washington, D.C., the Vatican, and London? Why does the UN headquarters have a meditation room dedicated to an altar of iron, a mineral associated with ancient esoteric traditions? These are not coincidences. These symbols reinforce control, embedding subconscious recognition of authority in those who don't understand their meanings. And then there are the bloodlines, families that have maintained power across centuries, ensuring that real control never falls into the hands of outsiders. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Windsors, the black nobility of Europe. All of these families are connected through intermarriage, shared financial interests, and participation in the same esoteric networks. Monarchies never disappeared. They just rebranded. The same bloodlines that ruled centuries ago still hold the reins today, hidden behind corporate and political structures. But what's the real purpose of all this secrecy? Why the rituals, the symbols, the encoded messages? Because control over the physical world is not enough. The true war is over human consciousness. The Archons don't just want obedience. They want willing servitude. They want your mind, your perception, your very soul to align with their system. They achieve this through ritualistic reinforcement, programming their symbols into society, ensuring that people unconsciously accept the structures of control as normal, inevitable, even divine. For those who want to delve deeper into these hidden histories, into the mechanisms of control and the ancient knowledge that can set you free, I've compiled a playlist on esoteric knowledge and demonology. You'll find it linked in the pinned comment below. It's a journey not for the faint of heart, but for those truly ready to see. Cracks in the system. There are cracks in the system. Reality isn't as stable as you've been led to believe. Every now and then, something slips through, a glitch, an anomaly, an event that defies the established order. When that happens, those who pay attention start to see the edges of the illusion. They start to see the cage for what it is. Throughout history, there have been individuals who've broken free from the programming, mystics, philosophers, scientists, even rogue members of the elite. They've documented experiences that contradict everything we've been told about the nature of reality. Some call it enlightenment, some call it gnosis, others describe it as an awakening, but the pattern is always the same. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Ancient texts describe this phenomenon in different ways. In Gnosticism, those who escaped the control of the Archons were called pneumatics, humans who had reconnected with their original divine essence. The Hermetic tradition spoke of initiates who unlocked the secret of the all. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the concept of Maya, The illusion of the physical world was meant to be transcended, not worshipped. The Taoists rejected the rigid structures of society, recognizing them as false constructs designed to limit perception. And then there are the modern accounts, stories of people who've experienced something that does not fit within the official version of reality. People who have witnessed reality shift before their eyes, seen impossible synchronicities, encountered beings that shouldn't exist. These are not fairy tales. These are testimonies from those who have seen beyond the veil. Take Philip K. Dick, the legendary science fiction writer. He wasn't just creating stories, he was writing about something real. In 1974, he had an experience he called the pink light experience, where he claimed to have been contacted by a higher intelligence. He suddenly understood that time was an illusion, that the Roman Empire had never fallen, that we were all living in a simulated reality controlled by hidden forces. His novels like Valis and The Man in the High Castles weren't just fiction, they were messages disguised as entertainment. Look at the Mandela effect, the phenomenon where large groups of people remember historical events, brand logos, movie quotes, and even geography differently than what official reality states. The simplest explanation: reality has been altered, rewritten, adjusted. The more extreme explanation: some people are waking up to the fact that this world is not stable, it is being manipulated. Then there are the cases of whistleblowers, scientists, and researchers who've been silenced the moment they started questioning reality itself. Jacques Vallée, one of the most respected UFO researchers in history, suggested that what we call aliens are actually interdimensional entities, possibly the same beings that the ancients called Archons, jinn, or demons. Dr. Carla Turner, a researcher who exposed the dark nature of alien abduction phenomena, mysteriously died of a rare, aggressive cancer after publicly stating that these entities were manipulating human perception. John C. Lilly, the neuroscientist who experimented with sensory deprivation, claimed that reality itself was being edited by a force he called solid-state intelligence, an invisible machine-like consciousness altering human history. The question is, what happens when people notice? What happens when someone realizes they are inside a construct? The answer is disturbing, because history tells us that those who get too close to the truth suffer, disappear, or are discredited. Think of Giordano Bruno, the 16th century philosopher and mystic. He wasn't just burned at the stake for heresy, he was executed because he openly spoke about the multiverse, about realities beyond our own, about forces controlling human consciousness. Nikola Tesla, one of the most brilliant minds in history, claimed he was receiving information from an external intelligence. He understood frequency, vibration, energy, and his inventions were suppressed. His lab burned down, his work erased from mainstream science. Even modern-day scientists who approach these topics are immediately ridiculed or cut off from funding. The study of consciousness, the effects of meditation on reality, the power of thought itself. These are all areas of research that are either ignored, buried, or turned into fringe pseudoscience. Why? Because if people understood the true nature of their own consciousness, the entire control system would collapse. The cracks are there. People see them every day. Déjà vu, precognitive dreams, out-of-body experiences, time slips, strange encounters, unexplainable synchronicities. These are not hallucinations. These are flaws in the program. Moments when the illusion doesn't hold up, when the mask slips and you catch a glimpse of something else. There's something about this world that doesn't add up. The deeper you dig, the more you realize that reality isn't as solid as you were told. History has been edited, science has been filtered, perception has been manipulated, and yet the vast majority of people never question any of it. But here's the problem for those in control. Some people do. Some people notice the cracks in the system. They see the patterns. They recognize the same symbols, the same narratives, the same recycled tactics used over and over again to keep humanity in check. And once you see it, you can't go back. Throughout history, those who have stepped outside the illusion have either been silenced or erased. The Gnostics were exterminated. The Cathars were burned alive. The mystics of ancient Egypt had their teachings stolen and distorted. Every civilization that got too close to the truth, gone. The libraries of Alexandria burned. The suppressed texts of early Christianity buried in the desert. Ancient civilizations wiped from history, their knowledge lost, their structures repurposed. The modern world is no different. Information is controlled. Data is erased. Whistleblowers disappear. Try questioning the official story about anything and see what happens. The system fights back, labels you as crazy, conspiratorial, dangerous. It protects itself because its survival depends on your ignorance. But let's talk about something more unsettling. What happens when you reach the edge of the system? What happens when you fully break through? There are stories, scattered, fragmented, buried under ridicule, of people who have seen things they weren't supposed to see. Individuals who claim to have encountered a reality beyond this one. People who, in moments of extreme consciousness shifts, near-death experiences, deep meditation, or even total sensory deprivation, witness something else. These accounts are disturbingly similar. A sense of breaking through a barrier, of being watched, of realizing that the world is more artificial than it seems. Some report seeing structures, geometric, technological, unfathomable, that exist outside of normal perception. Others describe entities that seem almost shocked when a human mind crosses into their domain, as if we weren't supposed to know they were there. And then there's the most chilling part, the intervention. People who get too close to the edge often report a force pulling them back, sudden amnesia, blackouts, a complete inability to recall what they saw. Some describe a presence, an intelligence actively preventing them from understanding what's beyond. Even in ancient mysticism, there were warnings about this. The Tibetan Book of the Dead speaks of trickster entities that attempt to deceive souls in the afterlife, leading them back into reincarnation. Gnostic texts describe soul traps designed to keep consciousness cycling endlessly through the material realm. The Emerald Tablets hint at an invisible barrier, preventing humanity from ascending beyond the physical world. So what does that mean? What is beyond this construct? No one knows for sure, or if they do, they're not talking. But the mere fact that so many different traditions, cultures, and individuals, separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles, have all hinted at the same thing, suggests that this isn't just speculation. Something is being hidden from us. And the most important question remains, why? What is so dangerous about a fully awakened consciousness? Why is there such an elaborate system of deception, control, and distraction in place? If the Archons, the rulers of this construct, have gone to such lengths to keep humanity asleep, then waking up must be the greatest threat to their existence. That's where we leave it, because this isn't just a theory. This is a game that's been played for millennia. For the first time in history, we have the tools, the knowledge, and the opportunity to start pulling the pieces together. The question is, who's really paying attention? If these revelations have stirred something within you, if they've chipped away at the comfortable lies you've been fed, then I want to hear from you. What part of this truth hits you the hardest? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Let your voice be heard in this awakening.